All right, a couple things before we get started. First of all is that you'll see a lot of the things involved with jewelry making are these small little fiddly things that are easy to drop, they go flying, they're hard to find. So rest assured that I've provided you with extras of everything except for the earring loops and the pie charms, which are larger and hopefully won't get lost as easily. But all these little jump rings, beads, I've given you extras of all of those as well as the pins. Second of all, though, to help, because things are so fiddly, and I definitely drop things when I'm doing this, it really helps to work on a tray with low walls. So just like if you have a serving tray that works like that, or cookie sheets often work really well. That way if you drop something, it's kind of contained, it doesn't sort of get lost in the shag carpeting or whatever. So to get started, these are the basic tools that you'll be using, and I thought it would be good just to kind of show you what the basic materials are and how to work with them before I give you the detailed step-by-step. So first up, we've got two different types of pins. This one is called a head pin, and it's so named because it comes to a head at the end, as opposed to the eye pin, which is this, which forms a loop or an eye at one end. Both of these are used for attaching beads to jewelry. So these nice little crystal beads that I've included in the kit. In the case of the head pin, this is used when you want a dangling bead that you're not going to attach anything else to it. So it's basically terminating the chain. Whereas for the eye chain, this can be bent to form something like this, that you can see you can attach to both ends of this. So it's basically for making a bead as part of a chain. We'll be using both of these in our jewelry experiments. You'll see that these come in various standard lengths. So these are the lengths that I've included in the kit. But the nice thing about these is that you can really cut them to whatever length you need. And for that, we'll be using our trusty pliers / cutters. So this part right in here is actually the cutter portion. And this material cuts really easily. It's very nice. So all you do, put your pin in the cutting area, squeeze gently. It really doesn't take a lot of pressure. And you'll find it might not cut all the way through. You just give it a little wiggle. And there you go, just as easy as that. It snaps off. So that's how you just cut those. Pretty simple. In terms of the eye pins, well, in either pin actually, when you want to turn it to create a loop. So in this example again, I've actually created that loop at that end of the bead. And so to do this, we're just going to, sorry if that was loud, with the pliers, grip the very end of the pin and just gently twist it. So we're basically using the curve of the backside of the plier as our guide. So there you go. And you can kind of control the overall size of this loop based on where you grip it. So let's do another one here. And if you grip it right at the end, you can see that one's forming a little bit of a smaller loop. And then you can just grip it a little bit more. And then here, it's a little hard to keep this all on camera. Just pinch it closed. So depending on what you do and what size loop you want, you can change that up a little bit by how you grip it. The other things you'll be working with are called jump rings. So that's these rings that you can open or close. So this is the larger size. I think it's 8 millimeters. And then I think this smaller is a 4 millimeter. I've noted it on the kit instructions. The smaller ones are definitely a little bit more finicky to work with. So, you know, you can sort of decide the look that you want with your jewelry, but then also just kind of what you're able to deal with. I'm going to show you with the 8 millimeter just because I think for the sake of visibility on camera, it'll be a lot easier to see. To open this up so that you can basically attach things to it, which is what the jump rings are for. It's really simple. So you're basically just holding this. So if I'm holding this straight up and down at a 90-degree angle to the ground, I basically just grip one side with my pliers, hold on the other side with my fingers, and it's just a gentle twist toward the ground. See? And now it's open. And so once it's open, then, you know, if you've got beads or something like that, whatever you want to attach, you just thread those on, and you can close it back up by twisting the other direction. And that's it. So that's most of it. The only other thing that is included is this little, blanking on the name right now, the little necklace clasp. They'll be used to make your necklace charm. So you can see that it's open so that you could, you know, hang a jump ring on it if you want to, which is what we'll be doing. And to close this up, it's a little bit finicky. I think pretty much every time I drop mine a couple times. And so you want to just hold it in one hand and you can pinch it closed. And then you're just going to try to grip this last end bit. You might have to grip it with your pliers and twist it a little bit. But ultimately, you can kind of just bend that closed. One thing to remember when using this is that, here, let's show you on my completed one here through the magic of television, is that one side will give this sort of like clean, smooth line. And on the other side, you're going to see this little clasp area where you closed it. So when you're building things with this, you're going to want to make sure that you pay attention to, you know, what side of the jewelry you want facing. So there's kind of like a raised smooth side to the pie charms, and then there's a side that's clearly the back. So you'll want to pay attention to that. So those are some of the basic techniques that we're going to be going over. And then coming up next, I'll go through the detailed steps and you can watch me as I actually build the earrings and the necklace charm. We're going to get started with what I think is the easier of the two projects, and that's the earrings. So to make each earring, we only need 5 things. That's your plier cutter tool, the bead, pie charm, earring hook, and an eye pin. And in this case, I've already trimmed the eye pin by cutting off the end, and I cut about 1/4 to maybe 1/3 of the total length. We're going to put the bead onto our eye pin and create a curved loop at the end here, as I showed you at the beginning how to do that. Okay, and we're gonna actually leave it open at this point because the very next step is loading the pie charm onto that open circle that you just created. And so you can grip that and twist that closed and just give it a little pinch if needed. And so there we go. And then the next step is going to be loading the whole thing onto your earring. And they come closed, so it's just like with the jump rings. You just twist that open. We're going to load oops, dear, I hope that wasn't too loud. Load the earring on, give it a twist and a pinch, and there we go. Next up is the necklace charm. So for this project, it's a little bit difficult to see, but there's actually 2 jump rings attaching this little cluster of dangling beads. There we go, that's a little more in focus. And the pie charm so that they all dangle together. For this project, you're just gonna need the pie charm, your pinch clasp for the necklace, 3 head pins, your 3 different colored beads, and I've provided extra beads, so if you sort of have color preference, of course, mix it up. 2 jump rings. In the instructions, I've included instructions for using a small ring and a large. If you're finding the whole thing a bit too finicky and you find the small rings are a little too difficult to work with, by all means, use 2 large. Likewise, if you prefer the look of 2 small, go ahead and use 2 small rings. And then, of course, your trusty pliers. So the first step is we're going to be preparing our beads on our head pins. So to do this, we're going to go ahead and thread the beads on. And then the head pins are a little bit longer than the eye pins were, so we're going to go ahead and cut the length by about half. So you can see I've just trimmed that off there. And then as we did with the eye pins, we just grip the end with our pliers and gently twist it around. Sorry, it's gone out of focus. There you go. And leave it a little bit. Actually, this one you can close all the way, sorry. So yeah, just close them all the way. And repeat for the other two pins, or sorry, for the other two colors. All right, so now we've got all 3 of our beads onto the head pins, and we've turned each of them to make a loop. And so the next step is to load these onto one of the small jump rings, the little 4mm size. So again, we just twist open like so. And I apologize, it's a little finicky, so it's kind of hard to do it on the camera so that you can see. But we're just going to load each of the beads onto the jump ring. And the order doesn't really matter here, and there's no like front or back. You don't really need to worry about putting them on facing any which way. Let's see if I can get the last one on here. All right, and then once you've got them all loaded on, it's just a matter of twisting the jump ring back in place like so. And so there you go, you've got your charm. Okay, so now that we've assembled our little charm ring here, the next thing we're gonna do is assemble the whole necklace. So I've already pinched close the little necklace pinch clasp as I showed you in the intro section. So that's already closed. We've got our pie charm, the loop, the beads, and a 8mm jump ring. As I said, if you prefer the look of the smaller one, go ahead and use that. It might take a couple tries because it's a little more finicky. We're gonna open that up using a gentle twist, and we're going to first put on our necklace pinch clasp. And so as I had talked about in the intro video, there's, let's see if we can get this close up here. There's this front side, which is all smooth, and then the back side has the closure visible. There we go. It's a little tough to keep everything in focus. So I'm going to load on to the loop with the front side, the smooth side of the clasp facing me. So we'll put that on. Next, I'm going to put on the loop that we made of the beads. So grip those and just thread the jump ring through. And then the pie charm. And since we've got the front of the necklace clasp facing us, we want the front of the pie charm facing us. So the nice rounded edge instead of the flat back side. So we have the front side facing us. And we just thread that on as well. And it's just a gentle close. Oops, didn't quite get it there. Gentle close. We can give it a little bit of a pinch if we want. Yeah, there we go. Your completed necklace.